The rejection letter arrived on a Tuesday. Ambassador Ren Solari had traveled 47 light years to deliver it personally. His species, the Kiriti, resembled tall insects with shimmering blue shells. They were known for their diplomatic grace. Today, that grace felt like cruelty. He stood in the Grand Hall of the United Nations Space Authority in Geneva. Snow fell outside the windows. Humans filled the seats before him, their faces showing a mix of hope and fear. They had waited 3 years for this answer. Ren unfolded his 4 arms in a gesture of formal address. The Galactic Concord has reviewed humanity's application for membership, he began. His translator device made his clicks and whistles into smooth English. After careful consideration, the Council of Elder Species has reached a decision. Secretary General Amara Okonjo sat in the front row. She was a tall woman with gray streaks in her black hair. Her eyes were steady. Earth's application is denied. Murmurs rippled through the hall. Someone cursed. Someone else began to cry. Ren continued reading from the official document. Humanity has not demonstrated the required 500 years of unified planetary government. Your species still maintains separate nations with competing interests. Additionally, your faster-than-light technology was not independently developed, but reverse-engineered from debris of unknown origin. He looked up from the document. The Concord does not accept species who cannot meet basic standards. You may reapply in 1,000 standard years. The hall erupted. Delegates shouted questions. Some demanded explanations. Others pleaded for reconsideration. Through it all, Amara Okonjo remained silent. When the noise finally died down, she stood. Her voice was calm. Ambassador Ren, I have one question. Yes, Secretary General, if we are rejected, does the Concord claim any authority over Earth or human space? Ren's antennae twitched. This was not the question he expected. Usually, rejected species begged. They offered resources. They made promises they could not keep. This woman was asking about boundaries. No, he admitted. Primitive worlds are left to develop without interference. The Concord has no interest in your affairs. So we are free to do as we please. Within your own space, yes. You simply cannot access Concord territories, trade networks, or diplomatic channels. Amara Okonjo smiled. It was not a sad smile. It was not an angry smile. It was the smile of someone who had just been told exactly what they needed to hear. Thank you, Ambassador. That is all we needed to know. Ren felt something he had not felt in 300 years of diplomatic service. He felt uncertain. This was wrong. Rejected species collapsed into despair or erupted into threats. They did not smile and say thank you. Secretary General, he said carefully, I do not think you understand. This rejection is permanent. The Concord will not reconsider. Your species will be alone. We understand perfectly, Amara replied. We have been alone before. We survived ice ages, plagues, and world wars. We split the atom and walked on our moon. We did all of this alone. Her smile widened. Being alone is something we know how to handle. The meeting ended shortly after. Ren returned to his ship with a strange feeling in his chest. As his vessel rose above Earth's atmosphere, he looked down at the blue and green world below. Such a small planet. Such fragile creatures. He filed his report and forgot about humanity. The Concord had 847 member species to manage. One rejected world was not worth remembering. That night, Amara Okonjo addressed the leaders of Earth in a closed session. They have told us we are nothing, she said. They have told us to wait 1,000 years. They have told us we do not matter. She paused, looking at the faces around her. Russian, Chinese, American, Brazilian, Indian, European. For the first time in human history, they all wore the same expression. Let us show them what nothing can become. The vote was unanimous. Project Quiet Thunder was approved that night. Every nation contributed resources. Every scientist was recruited. Every factory began retooling. The Concord had given humanity the greatest gift possible. They had given them a reason to unite. They had given them something to prove. And humanity, as it always did, chose spite. 50 years later, Ambassador Ren Solari retired from diplomatic service. He wrote his memoirs and mentioned the Earth rejection as a footnote. A minor assignment, an unremarkable species. He never learned that by the time he published those memoirs, humanity had already colonized 40 worlds in complete silence. He never learned that while the Concord stagnated, humans innovated. He never learned that the small woman with the steady eyes had started something the galaxy would never forget. The stars had ignored Earth. Earth just smiled and got to work. Nobody in the galaxy remembered the name Earth. 150 years had passed since the rejection. The Galactic Concord continued its slow dance of politics and trade. Species rose and fell in importance. Treaties were signed. Borders shifted. Life went on. Occasionally, a Concord sensor station would detect faint signals from a solar system. A technician would glance at the readings, note them as primitive radio chatter, and return to more important work. Earth was a backwater, a forgotten footnote, not worth a second thought. This was exactly what humanity wanted. Deep beneath the frozen surface of Europa, Dr. Yusuf Bari stared at equations that should have been impossible. He was 112 years old. Human medicine had advanced far beyond what the Concord believed possible. Yusuf looked 50. He felt 30, and his mind was sharper than it had ever been. Run it again, he told his assistant. The simulation played on the holographic display. A ship folded space around itself like paper. It did not travel through hyperspace lanes like Concord vessels. It simply stepped from one point to another. Instantly. Anywhere. The math works, his assistant said quietly. It actually works. Yusuf leaned back in his chair. Outside his laboratory window, construction drones assembled the skeleton of another warship. Europa alone had 17 hidden shipyards. Earth had over 200 across its colonized worlds. 340 worlds, to be precise. All colonized in silence. All hidden in dead zones the Concord never bothered to scan. All connected by communication networks the galaxy could not detect. Send the results to Admiral Holbrook, Yusuf said. Tell her we can begin prototype testing next month. Admiral Grace Holbrook received the message aboard the battleship Unity. She was the commander of a fleet that did not officially exist. Her ships were built from materials the Concord had never cataloged. Her weapons operated on principles the elder species had never imagined. Because the elder species had stopped imagining long ago. Grace had studied Concord technology for decades. What she found shocked her. Their ships used the same designs they had used 4,000 years ago. Their weapons had not improved in millennia. Their strategies were copied from ancient textbooks. The Concord was not an alliance of advanced species. It was a museum. They had stopped innovating when they decided they were already perfect. Humanity had made the opposite choice. On Earth, the forests had returned. The oceans were clean. Cities existed underground and in orbit, leaving the surface wild and green. Any Concord probe scanning the planet would see a primitive world. They would never guess that beneath the soil, millions of engineers worked in perfect coordination. The United Nations no longer existed. Neither did individual nations. Humanity had become the Terran sovereignty, a single government representing every human world. The old flags still hung in museums. Children learned about the ancient wars as cautionary tales. But they also learned why humanity had united so quickly. Remember the rejection, teachers told their students. Remember how the galaxy saw us. Remember what we chose to become instead. Leo Reyes was a young engineer working in a research station near Alpha Centauri. His job was analyzing captured Concord technology. He spent his days taking apart alien machines and figuring out how they worked. The more he studied, the more confused he became. This design is 8,000 years old, he reported to his supervisor. They have been using the same power cell since before humans discovered fire. And they never improved it? Why would they? It works. They see no reason to change. His supervisor nodded slowly. That is their weakness. They forgot how to grow. They forgot how to want more. Leo looked at the ancient power cell in his hands. It was elegant. It was efficient. It was completely obsolete compared to what humans had built last year. They have numbers, he said. They have territory. They have 800 species. And we have hunger, his supervisor replied. We have something to prove. That will always matter more. The first council meeting of the Terran sovereignty was held in a station orbiting Neptune. Representatives from every human world attended. They discussed trade. They discussed expansion. They discussed the future. At the end, Secretary General Paulo Vasquez rose to speak. The Concord still does not know what we have become, he said. They believe we are primitive. They believe we are weak. We could reveal ourselves now. We could demand recognition. He paused, looking at the assembled representatives. But I propose we wait. Let them forget us a little longer. Let them grow a little softer. And when the time comes, let them understand what silence can build. The vote was unanimous. Humanity would remain quiet. For now, the sensor technician thought his equipment was broken. He ran diagnostics 3 times. He checked the power supply. He even hit the side of the console, which sometimes helped older machines. Nothing changed the readings. A ship had appeared in Concord space. Not arrived through a hyperspace lane. Appeared. One moment empty space, the next moment a vessel. And the ship's energy signature matched nothing in the database. Give me the station commander, the technician said. Now. Within hours, the impossible reading had reached the Concord High Council. 12 elder species sat in their ancient chamber, surrounded by floating displays showing the anomaly. It uses no hyperspace lane, reported Admiral Keth Vorin of the Sorith species. His scales were dark green, his eyes yellow and sharp. It simply materialized. Our physics say this is impossible. Then your physics are wrong, replied the Kiriti representative. Or someone has discovered new physics. The ship's design does not match any known species, Vorin continued. But its communication signals are broadcasting in an old language, one we have not heard in 200 years. The chamber fell silent. Human, someone whispered. Ambassador Ren Solari had retired decades ago. His body had failed, and he now existed as a consciousness within a mechanical shell. He spent his days tending a garden on his homeworld, speaking to flowers that could not hear him. The summons came without warning. You are the only official who has ever spoken directly with humans, the council told him. We need your testimony. My testimony about what? They showed him the readings, the impossible ship, the human signals, the technology that defied everything the Concord understood. Ren felt something cold settle in his mechanical chest. He remembered a woman with steady eyes. He remembered a smile that did not fit the moment. He remembered dismissing an entire species as irrelevant. I made a mistake, he said quietly. We all did. Admiral Vorin led a fleet of 50 warships to investigate. They expected to find Earth as they had left it. A primitive world, a dying hope, a species barely surviving on the edge of known space. They found something else entirely. Earth was transformed. Its surface was wild forests and clean oceans. No cities were visible. No industry. No pollution. But sensors detected massive energy signatures beneath the ground and in orbit. They hid everything, Vorin realized. They built an entire civilization underground. A transmission came from somewhere above them. A space station flickered into existence, its stealth systems deactivating. It was larger than anything the Sorith had ever built. Galactic Concord vessels, a calm voice said. This is Terran Sovereignty Station Prime. Please state your purpose in our space. Vorin's scales flushed with anger. Their space? This region belonged to no one. Humans had no right to claim it. You are a primitive species, he transmitted back. You have no authority here. We demand to speak with your leaders. A pause. Then, very well. Approach Station Prime. Secretary General Vasquez will receive you. The meeting took place in a chamber designed to intimidate. Human guards stood at attention, their armor sleek and unfamiliar. Holographic displays showed star maps that Vorin did not recognize. Maps of human territory. Secretary General Paulo Vasquez was a middle-aged man with patient eyes. He listened as Vorin delivered threats. Your technology violates Concord regulations, the Admiral declared. Your ships use principles forbidden by ancient treaties. You will surrender this technology immediately or face consequences. Vasquez did not flinch. Ambassador, we never signed those treaties. We were rejected, remember? We are not bound by rules that exclude us. You reverse-engineered forbidden technology. We invented new technology. There's a difference. Would you like a demonstration? Before Vorin could answer, the station's displays changed. They showed Vorin's fleet, surrounded by 300 human vessels that had not been there moments before. We call it dimensional folding, Vasquez explained. Our ships do not travel through space. They step around it. Your hyperspace lanes are primitive compared to what we have built. Vorin's hearts pounded. His fleet was trapped. His weapons were useless against enemies that could appear anywhere. What do you want? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. Nothing, Vasquez replied. We want nothing from you. We built our empire without your help, and we will continue without your approval. But we will give you something. He leaned forward. We will give you a warning. Go home. Tell your council what you saw. Tell them that the species they rejected has become something they cannot ignore. And tell them we are not angry. His smile was exactly like Amaro Konjo's had been 2 centuries ago. We are patient. The first world fell without warning. Varith Minor was a farming colony of the Averii, a species of elegant bird-like beings. They had no military. They had no weapons. They had lived in peace for 3,000 years. The Veth swarm did not care about peace. They came from the dark spaces between stars. Billions of organisms moving as one mind, hungry and endless. They consumed everything. Metal, stone, flesh. They left nothing behind but empty rock. Varith Minor was gone in 6 hours. By the end of the month, 12 more worlds had fallen. The Galactic Concord, which had not fought a real war in millennia, discovered that its military existed only on paper. The Council of Elder Species met in emergency session. Fear filled the ancient chamber. Our weapons do not work, Admiral Vorin reported. His scales had turned pale. The Veth adapt to everything we use. They learn faster than we can invent. Then invent faster, demanded the Kiriti representative. We cannot. Our scientists have not developed new weapons in 4,000 years. We have forgotten how. Silence. The truth sat heavy in the room. The Concord had grown comfortable. They had stopped innovating because they believed they had reached perfection. Now perfection was being eaten alive. There is one option, someone said quietly. The humans. Every head turned. They have technology we do not understand, the speaker continued. They defeated Admiral Vorin's fleet without firing a shot. Perhaps they can defeat the Veth. We rejected them, another voice argued. We told them they were primitive. We ignored them for 200 years. Why would they help us? No one had an answer. Ambassador Rin Solari volunteered for the mission. He was ancient now, his consciousness barely holding together in its mechanical shell. But he remembered delivering the rejection letter. He remembered the smile. He felt responsible for what the Concord had done. Perhaps I can apologize, he told the council. Perhaps that will matter. He traveled to human space alone. His small ship was detected immediately, but no weapons targeted him. A calm voice guided him to a station, where he was received with surprising courtesy. Secretary General Miriam Okafor met him personally. She was young by human standards, with dark skin and bright eyes. Rin noticed she stood exactly like someone in an old recording, like her great-grandmother. Ambassador Solari, she said, my family has told stories about you. Good stories, I hope. Honest ones. She gestured to a seat. You were kind, in your way. You did not enjoy rejecting us. We remembered that. Rin settled his mechanical body into the chair. I'm here to ask for help. The Veth swarm is consuming our worlds. We cannot stop them. We have nothing that works. We know. We have been watching. You have. Miriam smiled. We watch everything. We have for 200 years. We saw the swarm awaken. We calculated its trajectory. We know it will eventually reach human space if not stopped. Then you will help? She leaned back. I must ask my council. But I have one question first, Ambassador. If we save your people, will you treat us as equals? Ren hesitated. The Concord's pride ran deep. Even now, with their worlds burning, many elder species still believe themselves superior. He could not promise they would change. I cannot guarantee that, he admitted. My people are proud. Some will always see you as lesser. Miriam nodded slowly. Thank you for your honesty. Does that mean you will refuse? No. She stood up. It means we will help anyway. Because helping is who we are. We do not save people because they deserve it. We save people because we can. Rin felt something he had not felt in centuries. Shame. Not for his species, but for himself. He had spent his life believing the Concord represented the highest form of civilization. Now he understood they were simply old. Wisdom and age were not the same thing. I am sorry, he said quietly, for the rejection, for the years of silence, for everything. Miriam's expression softened. I know. So was my great-grandmother, in her way. She did not hate you. She just wanted to prove something. She succeeded. Yes, she did. 24 hours later, the Terran Sovereignty announced full mobilization. 2,000 warships folded into Concord space simultaneously, appearing around the besieged world of Verith Prime like a sudden storm. Their weapons were already powered. Their crews were already at battle stations. Admiral Sun Wei broadcast a single message to the Veth swarm. You have taken enough. Now you face us. The swarm, for the first time in its existence, felt something new. It felt doubt. The sky above Verith Prime was falling. Millions of Veth organisms descended like black rain, consuming everything they touched. The city below burned. The Alvarii defenders, elegant bird beings who had never known war, screamed and fled. Then the humans arrived. Admiral Sun Wei watched from the bridge of the flagship Defiance as her fleet materialized around the doomed world. 2,000 ships, appearing from nothing, their weapons already singing. All vessels, she ordered. Clear the sky. The first volley turned night into day. The Veth had never encountered humans before. They had consumed 100 species across 10,000 years. Each species fought the same way. Predictable patterns. Familiar weapons. Easy adaptation. Humans were different. Their weapons changed constantly. Every minute, a new frequency. Every hour, a new approach. The Veth could not adapt fast enough. For the first time in their existence, they were being pushed back. The Hive Queen, deep in the swarm's collective consciousness, felt confusion. These small creatures fought with impossible fury. They did not retreat when injured. They did not surrender when outnumbered. They attacked harder. What were these things? On the surface of Verith Prime, Sergeant Oscar Rivera led his squad through burning streets. The Alvarii had always looked down on humans. Gravity-bound primitives, they called them. Flightless and crude. Now, those same Alvarii clutched at human soldiers like drowning children. Please, a young Alvarii female begged. Her feathers were singed, her wings broken. Please help us. Oscar did not hesitate. He lifted her in his arms and kept moving. Stay close, he told his squad. We leave no one behind. They fought through Veth-infested blocks, their weapons never stopping. Human armor absorbed damage that would have killed any Concord soldier. Human reflexes anticipated Veth attacks before they came. Human stubbornness refused to accept defeat. By dawn, Oscar's squad had evacuated 300 Alvarii civilians. He had not slept. He had not stopped. When asked how he kept going, he simply said they needed help. In orbit, the battle raged for 7 days. Admiral Wei lost 43 ships. The Concord would have retreated after 10. But humans did not count losses the same way. They counted what they were fighting for. Slowly, the Veth were pushed back. Human nanite weapons disrupted their communication. Human dimensional drives allowed ships to appear inside swarm formations, firing before the enemy could react. Human rage burned hotter than Veth hunger, but it was not enough to win. As long as the Hive Queen lived, the swarm would regenerate. As long as their homeworld existed, they would return. Dr. Yusuf Bari, now 189 years old, presented his solution. We can collapse their homeworld into a pocket dimension, he explained to the War Council. Remove it from existence entirely. Without their queen, the swarm will die. Can this weapon be used again? Admiral Wei asked. Yes, against anyone. The room fell silent. This was power the galaxy had never seen. Power to erase worlds. power to end species. The Concord representatives looked terrified. Secretary General Miriam Okafor made the decision. Use it once, she said. End this threat. Then we never use it again. And if another threat emerges? Miriam's jaw tightened. Then we find another way. We are not building an empire of fear. We are building something better. The weapon was deployed 3 days later. The Veth homeworld existed for 10,000 years. It held the queen. It held the heart of the swarm. It held the hunger that had consumed 100 civilizations. Then it folded in on itself and vanished. Across the galaxy, every Veth organism stopped moving. The connection to their queen was severed. The hunger faded. One by one, they collapsed and died. The silence that followed was the loudest thing Admiral Way had ever heard. On the surface of Verith Prime, Sergeant Oscar Rivera sat among the refugees he had saved. The young Averii female he had carried to safety sat beside him. Her wings would never heal properly, but she was alive. Why? She asked quietly. We never treated your kind well. Why did you save us? Oscar looked at the sunrise. The sky was clear now. No more falling death. Because you needed saving, he said simply. That was enough. She did not understand. But she would remember. The entire galaxy would remember. The species they had rejected. The primitives they had ignored. The nothing that became everything. Humanity had come for them. Not for revenge. Not for profit. Not for power. Just because they could. The Galactic Concord died quietly. Not in fire. Not in war. It simply stopped making sense. The ancient alliance had been built on the assumption that elder species knew best. The Veth War proved they did not. They had forgotten how to fight. They had forgotten how to innovate. They had forgotten how to survive. Something new rose in its place. The new Galactic Accord was founded 1 year after the war ended. 5 species signed the original charter: the Kiriti, the Sorith, the Averii, the Trellin, and humanity. The rules were different this time. No species would be rejected for being young. Innovation would be encouraged, not feared. Military strength would be shared, not hoarded. And, most importantly, decisions would be made together. Humanity asked for nothing except a seat at the table. The same seat they had been denied 2 centuries ago. Ambassador Ren Solari served as the first non-human liaison to Earth. His mechanical body had been repaired with human technology. It was better now than it had ever been. He could walk through gardens again. He could feel the sun on his sensors. He could almost believe he was alive. He spent his retirement studying humanity. He read their history. He watched their films. He listened to their music. He tried to understand how such a violent species could also be so kind. One day, he asked Secretary General Miriam Okafor directly. Your people have committed terrible crimes against each other, he said. World wars, genocide, slavery. How do you carry so much darkness and still choose light? Miriam thought about the question for a long time. We learned spite first, she finally said. When the universe pushed us down, we pushed back. We survived ice ages out of spite. We built civilizations out of spite. When you rejected us, we became an empire out of spite. She smiled the same smile her great-grandmother had worn. But somewhere along the way, we realized spite alone was not enough. It could build walls, but not bridges. It could win wars, but not peace. So we chose something better. We chose to help. We chose to build. We chose to become what we wish someone had been for us. Ren understood. Humanity was not good despite their darkness. They were good because of it. They knew how bad things could be, so they worked to make them better. You are remarkable, he said quietly. No, mi diamri plaiv. We are human. That is all. On Earth, the restored wilderness bloomed. Children ran through forests that had once been deserts. Whales sang in oceans that had once been poison. The planet their ancestors had nearly destroyed was alive again. Admiral Sun Wei retired to a cottage in what had been the Sahara. Grasslands stretched to the horizon now. She kept bees and watched the sunset every evening. She had commanded the greatest fleet in galactic history. She had won battles that would be studied for centuries. But her favorite memory was the silence after the last Veth died. The moment when she knew it was over. She never missed war. No good soldier did. Sergeant Oscar Rivera returned to Bogota. The city was different now, built into the mountains with care rather than conquest. Trees grew on every roof. Rivers ran clean through every street. Every year, the young Averii female he had saved came to visit. Her name was Kira. Her wings had healed enough to fly again, though never far. She did not care. She had learned that flying was not the only way to soar. They did not speak the same language perfectly, but they understood each other. Some things did not need translation. Friendship, gratitude, hope. The monument was unveiled on Luna. Millions watched as the cloth fell away. A simple sculpture stood against the black sky, a human hand reaching upward. Not grasping, not threatening, offering. The inscription was read aloud by Secretary General Okafor. They told us we were nothing. We became everything, and then we shared it. The crowd was silent. Humans and aliens stood together, looking at the hand that reached towards stars that had once ignored them. Somewhere in that crowd, Ambassador Ren Solari felt something wet on his mechanical face. Tears, he realized. The human engineers had given him the ability to cry. He had not asked for it, but now he understood why. Some emotions were too large for words. Some moments required something more. The galaxy had rejected humanity. Humanity had built an empire anyway, and when they won, they did not gloat. They did not conquer. They did not punish. They simply reached out their hand and said, "Join us." That was the human way. That was what made them special. Not their technology, not their weapons, not their spite. Their choice. Always their choice.